How's that for sound? Yeah. Uh-oh, what are you doing? Makes me nervous when he starts walking back there.
I'm a DJ. My God.
The technical team, is that where? So just a few people feel like they know what voice over IP is. Raise your hand if you're familiar with Echolink. You've heard of Echolink? Raise your hand if you use Echolink or have. Okay, a few people. Raise your hand if you've heard of IRLP. Just a few there. And there's another software called All-Star. Has anybody heard of All-Star? Okay. And the digital stuff. Who's into digital ham radio? The DMRs, the D-Stars. Got a few of those guys here. Just as a note here beforehand, you may already know this. If you're into the digital modulation, there's another talk tomorrow. There's a guy going to go into much more detail on digital. I'll just cover it really briefly. You want me to be louder? Is that better?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. I'm hearing my echo back off the back trailer. How many minutes we got to go now? 3 minutes, but I'm ready to go now. So what other questions can we ask the group? Is there a question? One more time. I'm PL.
PL frequency, PL.
So the PL is 107, and I think it's 0.2. It's the only 107 PL. So the frequency again is 446,925, 107 PL. And if you key up right now, you'll go into our reflector, which is, forget where our server is, New York or somewhere, and then you'll come back and come out my Pi here off this loudspeaker, and you'll notice probably a considerable delay as it goes through the internet. And that was going to be my next set of questions. Who here is using not Wi-Fi but cellular hotspots like Verizon or AT&T? Who thinks the service is really bad this week? And if you just use it for surfing the web, you'll notice the web pages are updating very slowly.
Well, they say it's great at 3 a.m.
I'm sorry?
They say it's great at 3 a.m.
Gets better at 3 o'clock in the morning? But I'm sleeping at 3 o'clock in the morning. Is that why?
Set a time.
There's a relationship between those two? And hey, that's working a little better. How many minutes we got to go now?
1 minute and 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds, actually. You can go ahead and start, Craig.
All right. So got my little sheet of notes so I make sure I don't skip over anything. All right. So, pretty much nobody raised their hand when I talked about voice over IP, so you're probably also not familiar with what a voice packet would be. So when you send your voice over IRLP, your computer has to take the voice from your microphone and digitize it, and then it's got to put it in a thing called an internet packet, which has the IP address of the place you're going to send it to, and it also puts in your IP address and ships it out over your internet service. And you guys, I'm sure many of you have internet at home. You got maybe cable modem, or you got DSL or something. In fact, let's check on that. Raise your hand if you use the internet. Okay, so I'm talking, I don't have to start from the very beginning. All right, so the way the internet works and all this voice over IP works is you run some software on your computer.
5 AKC, Tuskegee, Texas.
Let's get him to stand by first. That's Ken in Houston, Texas.
Hey Ken, can you stand by? We are live here.
Hey Ken, can you stand by? We are live here at this presentation, so can you stand by until we call you? We are requesting a clear frequency on 0070.
All right.
Acknowledge.
So the way all these voice over IP systems work, you run software on your computer and you hook your radio up to your computer, so the speaker on your radio is tied into the microphone input on the computer. Software digitizes your voice and sends it out to one IP address of somebody else. And that's called a node-to-node connection. So one person, and then the other person you're connected to is doing the exact same thing on his side and sending his voice packets to your computer, and it's decoding it, putting it to the speaker, or putting it in the microphone input of your radio and transmitting. And so that's how the basic of how voice over IP works. It's just point to point between two stations. But ham radio operators don't often like to talk just point to point. We like to have nets and reg twos and talk on repeaters. And who's uses repeaters, VHF or UHF repeaters? So you know what it's like. You got several people going around mobile, and when someone's talking, everybody else can hear what they're saying. You want to do the same thing on the internet, so you have to have what some people call a reflector or a repeater on the internet. You need another computer somewhere that you send your voice packets to that reflector computer, and it's got special software in it that makes copies of your voice packets and sends them out to everybody else's computer who's connected. So they use the word reflector, but it acts an awful lot like a 2-meter repeater does in ham service. And so what I just described is all you need to talk over the internet on voice over IP. And if you're familiar with Echolink, that's exactly how Echolink works. Now, it can get a little confusing because Echolink has that reflector software built in your computer when you install the Echolink software. So everybody's computer, everybody's node, that's the word they use when you set up a computer to connect your ham radio to the internet. They call it a node. And all the Echolink nodes are capable of conferencing. And the IRL, let me back up just a second. So Echolink is one software system invented by a guy. IRLP is very similar, but it was software developed by a different guy in Canada. And then All-Star was developed by a third group. So all three software does essentially the same thing. And so Echolink has the reflectors built into your nodes, but IRLP, you need a community reflector somewhere. Somebody sets up a reflector, and then everybody else connects to it, talks to it, just like through a 2-meter repeater. And All-Star is like Echolink. The ability to reflect is built into all the nodes. So the thing I wanted to make clear up front is all you have to do is send out your voice packets to the other station. If you sign up for Echolink or All-Star or IRLP, you have to register your call sign with their system. So when you do that, they will assign you a node number. How many are familiar with node numbers on Echolink? And so when you get on your touch-tone pad to tell your node to connect somewhere, you use a node number for that system. IRLP has their own set of node numbers, Echolink has theirs, and All-Star has theirs. But all you're doing is you're telling your computer at home to contact, for instance with Echolink, to contact the central server with the node number you want to connect, and the software downloads the IP address of that other guy's node into your computer. So the connection is not made through any server, it's made direct, node to node, through the internet by their IP address. There's a third set of software that I enjoy the most called Speak Freely, and it was developed I think in 1989, and it's incredibly simple, and you don't have to register and you don't have to deal with node numbers. There's a version for Windows and there's a version for Linux. And all you do is you put in the IP address of your friend, and you can talk back and forth. And there's a reflector you can set up, and that's what we've been talking through with the demo here. It's a Speak Freely reflector, and anyone who puts in the IP address of the reflector can be heard by everybody else. So, let me see, where are we on my list? And of course, everything I just described is analog on ham radio. So any ham radio can talk to an IRLP node, an Echolink node. It's the ham rigs we're all familiar with. But you guys know lately in the last few years they've come out with digital radio, which actually sends digital, that takes your voice on the microphone of your radio and it digitizes it in the radio. So the radio signal going out the antenna is digital. And you can't listen to those signals on a old analog radio. It just sound like hiss or static. And how many of you guys are familiar with the new digital stuff? Okay. Now the digital radios have their own internet connections, and The Yaesu has that Wires X fusion, and I think a few of you out there have heard of DMR. You can connect your DMR radios in through the internet. In fact, I've got a node. This is how small they're getting. This is a computer. There's 2 circuit boards in there. The computer's on the bottom board, and the digital radio's on the top board. This is called a jumbo spot, and you can get it online for $88. So if you have a Yaesu digital DMR D-Star, you can talk to this at home, and this is your node, and you use this to connect through the internet to somebody else, and you can talk on digital radios. Okay, that's pretty, because the guy tomorrow is going to talk more about digital, that's probably all I'm going to go into on digital. So if you're interested in the digital stuff, definitely see the talk they're having tomorrow. Now with analog, I'm jumping back to Echolink, IRLP, and All-Star. This is a IRLP nano node that a guy in Mark, I forget his call sign, in Las Vegas, he builds and sells these for $495. And it's a computer, and it's a 440 radio, all built in one case. And it's got Wi-Fi, so you can, if you have a hotspot or you got Wi-Fi at home, you can just turn this on and turn your hand-talkie on the appropriate 440 frequency. Today, of course, we're on 446.925. And so when you heard people, this is turned on right now. When you heard, in fact, Bill can do it again. When he talks through the nano node, it's going to our experimental reflector in New York, and it's coming back out.
K6MET doing a quick check on this repeat.
What is there? That's about a 3-second delay right now. And the congestion on the cellular connection affects what kind of a delay there is. Usually when I'm at home playing with this stuff, the delay is less than a second. But I've seen up to 10-second delay here at Quartzfest because of all the congestion on the cellular signal. And here I got a second node, an IRLP node, made out of a Raspberry Pi. I forgot, but I asked who's heard of a Raspberry Pi computer? Oh, got a good response on that. So who knew that you can turn a Raspberry Pi into an Echolink or an IRLP node? Okay, a few of you. So we've got the nano node here, and then I built my own second node out of a Raspberry Pi. And I haven't hooked a radio up to it. I just have this Motorola powered speaker plugged into the speaker output of that Raspberry Pi. And that's how you're hearing Bill. So he's being received here, going through the internet, coming back out the speaker, out the Raspberry Pi. And that's all happening. That my internet connection is here. I've got a very old Verizon 3G stick plugged into a Cradle Point router. And I don't know if I want to get into too much about cellular connections, but you guys have heard of 4G, right? And that's what most people are on. And then the old version is 3G. Well, there's a version of cellular digital older than that, and Verizon calls it 1X. That's the original 700 or 800 megahertz. Remember when cell phones first came out? They were analog, and then when they went digital, at 800 megahertz, this stick can still talk on those old frequencies. That's why we have the little whip antenna for 800 megahertz. And the fact that this can do the original 1X service is why I think we're not getting a lot of dropouts right now, because everybody's on 4G and this one's not. And so it seems to be making a good demonstration today. All right, what do we got next? Oh, let's talk about port forwarding real quick. Who knows what port forwarding is? Just a few of you. So when on some of these systems, you need to forward the ports in the router at your house. So when the voice packets come in from your friend, they get to your router, and I'm sure a lot of you people, you have many things hooked up to your internet home. You got cell phones, you might have one of those streaming movie services like Roku or Netflix, probably got a bunch of laptops and desktops. And when packets come in, the router has to know which computer in your house to forward them to. So an internet address has added to it what's called a port number, and there's 65,000 port numbers, 0 through 65 something thousand. And so every time you turn on a computer and every time you open a window, a new port gets assigned by the software. So when you send out a request over the internet, when those packets come back with a response, your router knows which computer to send that to. So on the simple voice over IP, a packet is just arriving that your router's never seen. But we know what the port is. On the IRLP, it's port 2074. They just picked one. And you program, there's a setting in your router control panel where you can port forward port 2074 to the IP address of your node. And so whenever a voice packet comes in from anybody, your router sees the port number and says, oh, that goes to the IRLP node computer. And now some of these systems have added the ability to work around that port forwarding so you don't have to. But some of the older systems just don't need to do that. Let's see, we talked about speak freely, and there's another technology happening called, they call them net radios. Anyone out there heard of a network radio? It's really basically, we've got a couple people there. It's basically a cell phone that has an app running in it that makes it look like a two-way radio. And you have a push-to-talk button on your cell phone. If it's a smartphone, the push-to-talk button shows up on the display and you touch it. There's a company called Inrico, I-N-R-I-C-O, and for a couple of $100, they took a cell phone and they made it look like a little mobile radio. And it has a speaker built in, and it has a microphone on a coiled cord, just like we're used to with mobile radios. So it feels like you're talking on a mobile radio, but it's really just a cell phone. And you can connect into a conference channel and talk to other people who've got these net radios. And all right, we've already talked about the Raspberry Pi. Those cost, the current price is $35. And you have to buy an audio device for the USB, and you need they run on the same power connector as your cell phone, those mini micro USB for power about 1 amp. And you need the memory card is the same that's in your cameras. Who's familiar with SD cards, memory cards? Yeah, everybody. So you buy the Pi and you get the audio and the power and the SD card. And so it's about an extra $20, so about $55, $60 for a Pi node if you want to do something like that. And we already talked about the Verizon data service we have here. Now I'm using a dedicated 3G and 1X stick. I've got this is what the new Verizon 4G looks like. It's got a built-in battery and a little touch screen, and you just set it on the table and turn it on, and it logs into Verizon to the internet, and then it lets, I don't know, 20, 30 people connect in if you give them the password. But if you don't want to use a dedicated access point like this, most cell phones that I know of can be turned into an access point. Who's turned their cellular phone into an access point so your computer or something can link into it? So you guys know what that is. These voice over IP systems, the IRLP and the Echolink, about half of our guys are going right in through their existing cell phone, so they don't need to buy one of these data sticks from Verizon. They're already good to go. Let's see. In the case of IRLP, I can't remember if we mentioned this in the pre-talk or while we were giving the presentation, that even though the three systems are completely separate, Echolink, IRLP, and All-Star, the IRLP node was built by one guy. Another group of users developed Echolink software that you can add into an IRLP node. So you can command it to connect to either IRLP stations or Echolink stations, but you can't do both at the same time. And usually what we do with touch tones, when you want to command it with tones from your handheld, it's a 4-digit number to make an IRLP connection, and you add a star and then the Echolink node number if you want to go out through Echolink. That's how you tell the node which way to connect. And have I introduced everything? Oh, there's another feature. GPS. Who's familiar with the APRS system on packet radio? Who's beaconing APRS today? A few of you. Who's familiar with what I think is the greatest APRS website? which is APRS.FI. If you haven't seen that, I recommend you go bring it up next time you're in front of a computer. It's instead of .com or .org, it's FI, Frank India. And I think that's because the guy who developed that website is from Finland. And I think that's the Finnish country code. So it's APRS.FI. You don't need any other APRS hardware to use that page. You can see everybody who's beaconing, every ham who's beaconing, their signal on 2 meters and gets picked up by what's called an iGate. Their position gets picked up by somebody and forwarded to the servers on the internet. And so you can look at everybody's location on a map. And it's a really impressive presentation and map for free software. You can see where everybody's located. I've been beaconing all week. K1BDX. Like, did I forget to even introduce myself? My name's Craig Davidson. I'm K1BDX, and I do APRS 2 different ways. I have some software on my Windows laptop where I can bring up a map and click where I'm located and hit the little transmit button on the screen, and it will send that position to the server so you guys can see where I'm at. But the reason I'm bringing it up today is if you want to do it in real time, like every minute or every 2 minutes, that you can buy these GPS receivers. I call them hockey puck receivers because there's no display. It's the antenna, the GPS receiver, and there's even a magnet on the bottom, so you can stick it to the top of your car. This one happens to have USB. There's other versions that have the old RS-232 COM1 port on it. And if you plug this into the Pi, our group wrote a script. It's about, 25 to 30 lines that will read the latitude and longitude and altitude out of this hockey puck and send it over the internet to the APRS server so other people can just go to that website, APRS.FI, see where you're at in real time. The APRS data, the latitude and longitude, I think your question is it going out over ham radio or straight to the internet? Oh, you're asking about software called APRX, which is different than APRS, which is the name of the system. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we're not using APRX software. Not familiar with that. We wrote a custom script that learns how to read the data. What's interesting is, even though that's USB, there's a standard in the boating industry, a NEMA standard. So these things are compatible with all of the boat navigation equipment. When you plug this in and apply power, it starts spitting out RS-232 ASCII data of your latitude and longitude at 4,800 baud serial, just on power up. So you don't have to configure these. You just plug them in, and our script sets the serial port. There's a USB to serial adapter feature in the Pi, and pretty much all computers that have USB now. We configure that to 4,800 baud, and we just start reading that ASCII data. And then our script picks through and just picks out latitude and longitude and ships it off to APRS. And you can set how often you want to do that. And so that's a neat feature that runs completely in parallel with the voice. And they don't interfere with each other or not. In fact, some of the guys in our group are thinking, we got another guy showing up on our Reflector. So some of the guys, because these Pis are so small and so cheap, they're thinking they'll set up a Pi just to run the GPS beaconing. And they're not even to do voice over IP over that.
Hey, Dave, can you stand by just a minute? We'll call you in a minute. He's live right now. Can you stand by? Roger, roger.
You're talking about APRS on a cell phone? Yeah, that's a good thing to mention. Is anybody beaconing APRS from a cell phone app? A few people. You can download an app in your cell phone, because most cell phones have GPS built in these days. And it will read the GPS in your phone and send it over the internet to the servers. And so you'll show up on the ham radio APRS maps, just like the hams who are actually beaconing APRS over 2 meters and are getting picked up by the iGates. So you can participate in APR, showing people where you are located just from a cell phone app if you want. And So, most of what we're doing with the voice over IP is we hang out on a reflector that we built, and it's all very similar to just a 2-meter repeater. When you have time to monitor, you're listening, and when people throw out their call sign and conversations happen, and but another thing you can do with this technology is you can have remote bases. So if you're here at Quartzfest, and currently I'm living in Chicago, and if there's a repeater in Chicago I want to listen to, I can set up a node there, and it doesn't matter which system, whether it's Echolink, IRLP, or All-Star. Set up your radio there and turn it to the repeater frequency, and then you can sit here in Quartzfest, and you can either do it from your laptop directly, or you can set up a second node here and talk on your handy-talkie. And then your signal will go from your handy-talkie through the node here at Quartzfest on whatever your cellular connection is, to your hometown, and come out your node onto your favorite repeater. So you can monitor your favorite repeater while you're on the road. And the last two items here start getting into a little bit of detail. The reflector that I talked about, that we use on IRLP, you can put the reflector software on your computer at home, and then all your friends will use your home IP address to talk to it. But we found it more convenient to rent a virtual computer online somewhere. Has anybody ever rented a virtual computer? A few of you have. And the price used to be $15 a month, and then it was $10 a month. And we just found in the last few months a company called VirMatch, which I think is short for Virtual Machine, VIRMACH.com. $10 a year, which I think comes out to 87 cents a month. So we're renting a computer online, and we loaded it with the Reflector software, and it comes with its own static IP address. And so then all of us with our nodes at home, we put in that IP address. And usually on any given day, there's somewhere between 18 and 30 nodes connected. And for those of you who are familiar with IRLP, it's an experimental reflector, and our node number is 0070. That's what we've got running here. And how much time we got? I think I'm almost done.
You got plenty of time.
So we can go with questions here in a minute.
Well, we can do a demo. Let's do the demo.
And so yeah, let's do the demo, and then we'll take some questions.
You want me to call?
So go ahead and give a shout over the reflector.
This is K6MET at Quartzfest. Can we have people checking in?
This is K6MET at Quartzfest. Can we have people checking in briefly where you're located, your name, and your call sign? This is K1BDX, located in Houston, Texas. Over. This is Kilo Charlie 7, November Kilo Pa, Adam, in Bend, Oregon.
It is dropping out just a little bit. This has only happened at Quartzfest. Everywhere else is perfect.
Yep. It is.
That was Adam in Bend, Oregon, and the guy before that was that Dave or Ken in Houston.
K5NX.
And Dave, K5NX, and Adam, and everybody else.
About KL7M, are you listening, Dave?
K7M, I'm listening, Dave.
I shouldn't talk so close. M1 JCB. Tim, are you listening? M1
JCB. Tim, are you listening? M1 JCB.
Now you may notice that prefix. M1 JCB is our friend Tim in England. He showed up about 1.5, 2 years ago, and he's been hanging out with us pretty much every day from England. But they're 6 hours ahead of Central Time, 7 hours ahead of Quartzfest. So about 6 o'clock in the evening, he's getting sleepy, and he kind of drops out of our conversation. So let's see, any other kind of demo you want to do, or you think we should go to questions?
My cell phone and turn on and off?
Forgot about the control. Let's talk about how you can control the nodes with touch tones from your handy-talkie. But this one has a touch screen on the front, so you can connect it and disconnect it, reboot it, all from the little touch screen. And this is the 440 antenna, radio built in. But and a moment ago I mentioned that even though this happens to be IRLP, a group developed Echolink software that you can add to it so it can connect to Echolink. Another group built a web server that goes in these nodes, so you can log into them with any web browser on your smartphone or from another computer in the house, or if you're doing the remote base thing from if you're listening to a repeater in Chicago from here, you can connect and disconnect that node back home from your laptop or your smartphone here over the internet. And if anybody's interested in seeing that, Bill,
Let me turn it off and turn on DTMF first.
Okay, let's do the tone demo.
Okay, so tell them what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn the node off.
So Bill's going to do an example of what it takes to turn the node on and off here. We're going to disconnect it. And it has a muting feature, so you only heard the first blip of the first tone, and then it muted everything, so you don't have to listen to touch tones.
I just shut it off.
And now when
I'm going to reconnect with DTMF.
it's supposed to work. Why does it never work when you're standing in front of 100 people?
Node number
It did. It did work.
0070. Link active.
So that's how you connect by touch tones. And that delay is a lot longer than usual, and I'm thinking that might be because of the internet connections we got here. So touch tones commanding, but you can bring up a web browser on your phone, link it in through the internet to your node, and there's a nice graphical display that shows who you're connected to. It's got memory buttons, so if there are certain node numbers you use all the time, there's like 5 buttons you can pre-program them. Just hit button number 2.
It's kind of hard to see in the sun. But
So if any of you are interested in seeing that, Bill can walk around and show it to you. So after that, I think we're ready to go for questions. So let's do the questions over here.
Yeah, you demonstrate the echo repeater.
So we talked about the
9990.
Echo Reflector for testing. That's a good thing to mention. If you're testing and you don't have a friend to talk to and you want to see if your system is working, we talked about reflectors. Everybody connects the same reflector. Copies are made, sent out to everybody so everybody can hear everybody. For testing, they have a thing called an echo reflector. You connect to it, talk to it, and then it will pause a few seconds, and then it will repeat your voice packet back at you, so you can verify that the path both ways is working. And I don't know if you feel like trying to bring up the echo reflector
on
or not. On
Oh, yeah.
9999.
Well, I can do it.
That'll work too.
Yeah. Disconnecting from 000.
Node number 0070. Link clear.
What number was that? 9990? And again, the delay is because of the internet congestion. Happens much quicker back home.
Did he hit the star?
IRLP Echo Reflector. Link
You have
active.
8 or 9
Main
seconds,
channel.
right? 8 or 9 seconds to do a test, right?
So
I think you have 8 or 9 seconds to do a test when you do this, so you can say something, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is Kilo 6 Mike Echo Tango at Quartzfest.
then there's going to be a
You have 8 or 9 seconds to do a test when you do this, so you can say something, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is Kilo 6 Mike Echo Tango at Quartzfest.
So there's an example of the echo reflector. All right, anybody else got any questions? Go ahead.
Is there a cookbook website
Is there a cookbook website on how to do this stuff and why? Each of the three systems that I've been talking about, Echolink, IRLP, and All-Star, have their own websites. Echolink, I believe, is echolink.org, and IRLP is irlp.net, and All-Star, I think, is allstarlink.com. But if I got any of those wrong or they don't come up, Google them. Google the names and they'll pop up. And the other software I talked about that does the most simple, just sending your voice packets. There's no node numbers. There's no registration. If you want to do that, I'm particularly fond of that because that is so much more like your actual radio. If you're transmitting on 2 meters and you go behind a hill or a building and the repeater doesn't pick you up, your transmitter doesn't care. It doesn't even look, doesn't know. And then as soon as you come back out from behind the hill and you get back in the repeater, your friends will say, yeah, we're hearing you again. So Speak Freely is a lot like that. It just sends your voice packets into the internet, totally in the blind, and like a ham radio transmitter, you won't know you're being heard until your friend responds back to you or says, I can't hear you. And so when I'm out driving around mobile and the cellular signal is just really unreliable, because I'm way out at the far reaches of the signal, or in the case like Quartzfest where there's so much congestion, the cellular packet flow is not reliable. There's
Juliet, Charlie Bravo.
Hey, there he is.
There's our friend Tim from England.
Can I
0070.
talk?
So yeah, let's take a pause here and let Tim go. Tell Tim it's time for him to say hello to our audience of
Tim, we've been
100
waiting for
people.
you. We've got 5,000 people waiting to talk to you
Tim, we've been
here
waiting
at
for you. We've got
Quartzfest.
5,000 people
Tell them
waiting
where
to
you
talk
are,
to you
briefly.
here at
Short
Quartzfest.
transmissions.
Tell them where you are, briefly. Short transmissions.
He's a little long-winded sometimes, that's why I said that.
Okay, Bill. My brother's gone to, I was connected to 0070. I was sitting here listening, and anyway, I've discovered it, so. Okay, my name is Tim. Tango India Mike. We're in the northwest of the UK, about 50 miles short of the Scottish border, in a little narrow section of the British Isles, if you can picture that. Mike 1, Juliet, Charlie, Bravo, over.
Thanks very much, Tim.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much,
really
Tim.
appreciate it. Everyone is very impressed that we're
I
talking to
really appreciate it.
the UK in the
Everyone
middle of the
is very
desert.
impressed that we're
K6
talking to,
MET clear.
The UK in the middle of the desert, Arizona.
Now,
K6 MET clear.
now this experience reminded me of something I hadn't mentioned yet. We've been sitting here monitoring the whole time, and Tim didn't show up till 20, 30 minutes into this. And I've noticed, and I recommend if you set up one of these reflectors and get all your friends to hook into it, hang out there, stay connected, you know, and then you can either do it by radio or you can just take one of these Pis, plug in a speaker like I have in your ham shack. And I just leave it running 24 hours a day in the ham shack. And my wife gets irritated and closes the door so she doesn't listen. But if you're not monitoring, your friends will call, or a stranger might attempt to join in, put a call. Nobody heard it. And I've spent many of weekends, you know, listening all weekend while I'm doing stuff around the house. And somebody new will connect in, put on a call, and nobody happens to respond to him. So 2 minutes later, he disconnects. Half an hour later, another guy from somewhere else in the world connects in, doesn't talk to anybody because the first guy's disconnected. And it'll go on all day. So if you stay connected, then when somebody does show up, you're ready to respond. Just like Tim showed up right in the middle. And if I had connected this, tried to do a demo for a few minutes and they disconnected, we'd have missed Tim completely.
Introduce me.
And should I introduce you?
Yes.
You can do it on your radio. That's Bill. And his call sign's on his t-shirt.
From Buena Park, California. Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
So just to let you know, I've been on this network for like 2 years, and I've always wanted to meet Craig. He's a 4-hour drive to Quartzfest, so I said, what the heck? And I came up yesterday. I'm going to leave this afternoon. I'm videotaping it now, so it'll all be on YouTube and hopefully on the Quartzfest website soon, too. So just to let you know that.
I'm not sure they heard you. Just come sit on the mic. He knows about microphones. He's a professional DJ.
I'm afraid of microphones. But I'm Bill, K6MET from Buena Park, California. For 2 years, I've been talking to this gentleman and all these other folks on 0070.
You just showed up.
Just showed up, and a bunch of neat guys. I'm very green at doing all this stuff, so what's cool about it is him, Dave, and a few other folks, they guided me through, helped me set my nodes up, and I've got an All-Star, an Echolink, IRLP, and one of these new Pi 3s for YSF, and they've all helped me, because believe me, I'm a dummy. But it's great. I met a lot of great people, so I finally got to meet Craig face-to-face yesterday, and we had some iced tea around the fire pit last night, which was kind of nice. Yeah, so I'll let Craig take over. Ask him questions.
And, we were talking websites. I gave you the web addresses of the 3 major networks. I put some stuff kind of related to this talk, because the Reflector that we rented for 87 cents a month has a web server built into it. And one of the people in our, it wasn't me, one of the people in our group, David, K5 November X-ray, K5NX, set it up. So our web page is k5nx.com. And that'll show you information about our IRLP reflector. Now I added kind of a sub-web page called Quartzfest. So if you go to k5nx.com/Quartzfest, there'll be some links and some information on there specifically related to this talk today. And my email address is on there, so you can email me if you have any questions. Because what Bill brought up something really important. One of the coolest things about ham radio is it's social. You talk to people. So we spend a lot of time helping newcomers learn how to set this stuff up. So you can get with us in the beginning and you say, hey, I want to do this. Can you show me how to get started? And we'll show you where to buy the stuff, and we'll help you get the software installed. And you can, start by email if you need to. But if you have like Echolink on your phones, or the people who know Echolink, even though the system we're on, there's another thing was good to mention. Even though the main system we like is IRLP and our Reflector 0070, we built a bridge to Echolink. And it's run by David again. So the Echolink connection is K5NX-L for link. And if you pull out your smartphone or bring up Echolink, connect to K5NX-L. In fact, your voice would come spilling out the speaker right here, right now, if you did that right now from a phone here in the audience. And we've also got a cross-link to All-Star. So we'll figure out, start with email if we have to. We'll get you talking to us somehow, and then we'll guide you through setting any of this stuff up that you like. And we've got another question back there.
How do you go about finding a reflector that you want to talk to? Is there a list published or a website, or just...
How do you find the reflectors? So on Echolink, if you go to echolink.org, there's a clickable link there, and I forget what it's called, but it's like currently registered nodes or something. And if you go there, it'll show all the call signs,
And sections.
then the L nodes, and then the R nodes.
All over the world.
And then at the bottom are the reflectors, the conference channels. And you can just pick one, connect in on Echolink, put out a shout, and see if anybody comes back. But you're going to run into that problem that I described just a minute ago. People do that, they go connect, and they put out a call, they wait 3, 4, 5 minutes, disconnect. 20 minutes later, the next guy comes in, but because the first guy left, they never connect. So if you pick a reflector, if you find one you like, stay connected for days and see who shows up over time. And so you can connect into other people. So that was Echolink. IRLP has a sub-page. I told you that the main web page for IRLP is irlp.net. If you put in status.irlp.net, it'll bring up a list of all the reflectors, and it'll bring up status pages of every single node in the world that's turned on, plugged in. And because when you have an IRLP node, one of the things it does is it sends your status information to the server every few seconds.
K6MET on my phone.
I'm not sure why I'm coming out the...
K6MET on my phone.
Echolink.
Okay, so you just tuned in Echolink on your smartphone, and connected to K5NX-L, and you heard my voice echoing, booming through.
Yep.
K1BDX, K6MEC.
See, so he's doing it.
So he's doing it there from his smartphone. So, let's see. And then the last system was All-Star. And so they have a list of nodes. Now, All-Star does not have reflectors. You connect to somebody's node, and every node has a reflector built in. So multiple people connect to one node. On IRLP, if somebody's connected to my node, and you try to connect, it'll say node's already connected to such and such. And since I always leave mine connected to a reflector, that's some of my friends try to connect to me and gives them the answer back. He's connected to reflector 0070. Well, then they know. They go to the reflector. We all talk together.
Real quick, I don't need. I just used an Echolink.
Real quick, I don't want.
Using an Echolink demo, real quick.
Hear the internet drop
Just
now.
use an Echolink demo. Using an Echolink demo, real quick.
So, reflectors, the reflector question, you can connect to other people's reflectors. And if you want, you can do like we did. We made our own reflector. We rented one of those servers. We set it up. We called up Dave Cameron and said, hey, we want an experimental node number for our reflector, and he issued a 0070. So now anybody with an IRLP node can connect to us. But because we kind of have a special experimental reflector, it works by IP address. So you can speak freely from your laptop, put in the IP address of our reflector, talks directly to us. You're not really even going through the IRLP network anymore. Go ahead.
I have Qtel on one Linux machine. I got port forwarded to the UDP port to that machine. If I want to set up another Linux machine with Qtel on it, how do I get those two UDP ports port forwarded to the second box?
So you got two nodes at home, and you're using the port forwarding on your first node, and then I think you're asking if I got a second computer.
I'm port forwarding to the first node on my router.
Okay, you're port forwarding to the first node.
How do I get those same UDP ports to port to the second machine?
How do you get the same ports going to a second machine? So the short answer is you can't. But I'm glad you mentioned that, because who's heard of a virtual private network, VPN? I see a few people in the back. You can on these servers we've been renting for 87 cents a month. One of them is the Reflector, but because we've had these problems where we're getting so into this hobby, we want to have several nodes at home, all connected to different places. They're all talking on the same port number, and you have a port conflict. So we've put VPN. There's a free software called OpenVPN, and with one of these 87-cent servers, we'll show you how to load the OpenVPN server software, and the loading process creates a client file, text file, and you download that into your node running the client software, and now you're VPNing to that server, which has its own public IP address out at the server farm, and it's not using your home IP, so you don't have port conflicts anymore. So, and like I mentioned earlier, there's 65,000 ports in the protocol, so you can have a lot of nodes at home before you use up the ports. And so yeah, that was a good question. Any other questions? All right, I think we may be coming to an end.